like to call to order Lafayette Township Board of Trustees and Fire District. Today is Monday, July 7th. It is 6:31 p.m. The notice requirements of Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code and the implementing rules adopted by the board pursuant thereto were complied with for the meeting. Roll call.
Paroli here.
O'Neill here.
Fullerton here. Can stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ty, real quick, I got something I want to play real fast here as we start the meeting. Hey, Chief, we got this set up for HDMI?
Nice stranger. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Right.
Yeah.
What's that?
There's a cable up here.
Yeah, I got a longer one to see if that would work. I don't know if that one's working here.
Oh, you're bad. I know. Let's get out here. I'm getting so excited.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. It was very hard.
Here, let's try it with the, I'll just try the other cable here. We're all closer.
Should be HDMI 1.
Yeah, let's just, it may just be that that cable doesn't configure right.
There you go.
Got it? All right.
Looks like that's it.
So what we got here is the last meeting of the previous board from December 4th of 2023.
Reports, fiscal, Laura, if you have anything to add?
I just have one thing. As a result of some discussions at the county fiscal officer meeting, I am proposing a new policy for records room access. I'll just read what I typed out. In the interest of providing safe and secure storage of township records, this policy is established to limit and control the accessibility of these records by the person ultimately responsible for them, which is the fiscal officer. The township recognizes that there is a need to balance the accessibility of records with the need to provide a safe and secure environment for them. Therefore, convenience must sometimes be compromised in order to maintain security. The following policy will now be immediately put into effect. The fiscal officer shall be the only person with the key to the records room. If records are needed, the fiscal officer shall be notified at a mutually agreeable time set for the requester to meet the fiscal officer and obtain escorted access to the records room or specific files requested therein. So I'm asking for a motion to accept that policy.
I would move to accept the policy as read by Laura.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, Laura. Look,
So the reason I played that video is, I guess the township policy through at least June 30th when Laura was resigned was she was the only person that had access to the records room, correct?
Her or someone that she appoints, whatever. But
And the motion was very
Yeah.
clear.
Yep.
So nobody else has any keys to the records room.
I have all of Laura's.
So as of 5 PM, but prior to 5 PM on June 30th, nobody else had access
Yeah.
to the records room?
I'm not aware that anyone has access to the records room.
So here's the records room on the Monday of June 30th.
Monday of June 30th.
Yes. The morning before Laura resigned, when the records room was still under her unilateral control.
Well, obviously, she gave Kristen the key. I got the keys that night then, if this is the date that you're talking about.
Oh, it's 100% the date.
Okay.
And the reason for playing the two videos is because that motion on December 4th, 2023 was made for the sole purpose of restricting my access to the public records of the township. And there are multiple videos that produce just that. So, again, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page that since the day that I took office here, not only have these two worked to actively restrict your access to records, they've done the same to restrict my access to records.
That's untrue. I've never, ever restricted your access. I've never restricted the public's access.
Just another policy that is not enforced by the township.
More,
All right, you may proceed.
more drama from
Thank
trustee
you.
Crowley.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We have a guest here, our prosecutor, county prosecutor, Forrest Thompson. So if anyone not sure who that is over there, it's Forrest Thompson. All right. Pending approvals, minutes, June 2nd. Do we have a motion to approve June 2nd?
I had one correction on there, and it was just page 4, Luke Uravek's name. We should probably correct that for the record, but that's the only correction I had.
Can you just send me that?
Second, after the correction? I'll second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye?
Aye. All opposed, same sign.
While we're on minutes, I do want to
June
mention,
2nd's approved. Go ahead, Justin.
just want to mention that the minutes that we previously approved for Thursday, May 22nd special meeting, in my haste at the previous meeting, I did not highlight an omission that was made that after the second executive session of the meeting, before we adjourned the meeting, I did make a motion to terminate zoning inspector Meinke effective immediately. There was no second, and the motion did die, but as there was a motion made, that should be added to the minutes. I believe it was probably just inadvertently omitted, but we do need to correct those past minutes. So we can rescind approval and add them, or we can just notate it in the record now, but I do think that it's important that that be
You can notate it.
on the record.
Will you send me the wording, just so what you all just said? Just so I can
Yeah,
correct?
at
Okay.
the end of the second executive session on Friday morning, we reconvened. I made the motion to terminate zoning inspector Sherry Meinke effective immediately. There was no second, therefore the motion died, and then we adjourned. But since a motion was made, it should be recorded in the minutes.
Fair enough. June 9th meeting, motion to approve June 9th.
I'll move to approve the June 9th minutes.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, opposed, same sign. All right, pending fiscal consent agendas for April, May, and June are still outstanding. Is there a motion to approve?
I haven't seen any revisions to those reports. I don't see any reason to approve.
Did you ask for revisions?
I did, to which I received no response. We
Chris,
discussed it
anything?
very openly at the meeting.
I'd rather wait until he gets his revision request
Okay.
addressed.
Okay. Consent agenda, obviously, there's no report for physical, because we have no physical officer, so, service, fire, police, zoning, everyone got their reports? Any
Yes.
questions on any of those reports?
None.
All right, motion to approve the consent agenda minus the physical.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, so fiscal report. I'm sure a lot of you already know that Laura Rubensall has resigned as fiscal officer. And I had several conversations with her weeks prior, talking about all of her concerns. So I just jotted down a lot of her concerns, and then I'm going to read it for the record right now. Fiscal officer's resignation was because of the escalating excessive abuse and harassment by trustee Justin Paroli, past trustee Michael Costello, Medina Township resident Angela Ventura. The fiscal officer position. Our fiscal officer in Westfield Township does double the work compared to other townships in Medina County. She handled 2 UAN programs, one for the township and the other for the fire district. This includes 2 sets of records for everything, including government reporting and end-of-year closing of the books. This is the result from our former trustees levying a tax on Glory Glens to build a new fire station, which created a fire district per ORC instead of using the option to just contract with them for service. Trustee Paroli's constant disrespect shown in meetings, emails, public postings, and his misinformation to his friends. Trustee Paroli continually neglects to tell the entire story by omitting the following to the public as being a good steward of our tax dollars. And these are the things that she listed for me. He failed to obtain a contract end date for First Communications, Medina Fiber, and AT&T, but signed us up with Lightspeed hosting in January, which cost the township an additional $4,800 on hosting services that the township did not need until August. He cost the township $185 to replace the glass top of a desk because he broke it when he sat on it. He cost the township a costly service call for the copier because he allowed his child to play and jam on the copier by inserting stapled documents. He violates the executive sessions confidential rules when he leaks the discussions and then they appear on Facebook posts. He does not follow records retention policy because he keeps township video footage downloaded to his computer. He publicly lynched the fiscal officer and failed to mention the fact that the fiscal officer met with each trustee individually to admit her error in not paying OPERS correctly. He, as a trustee, and his misinformed friends continually sent the fiscal officer emails for public record requests asking for numerous items that wasted a lot of her time. Here are just a few recent examples noted right from their public record request with nasty and interesting comments. The first set of emails is from Michael Costello, past trustee, on May 21st, and I quote from Mike to Laura, "I will be filing with the Court of Claims in the morning. You are being deliberately deceptive," in all capital letters, "and I'm tired of your games and incompetence." Another one from Mike to Laura, May 17th. "I will file against you and the township with the Court of Claims to obtain the proper documentation. It is obvious you have been derelict in your duties, and trying to cover up your mistakes is not a good look." May 15th from Mike to Laura. "Before you start your nonsense of claiming attorney-client privilege, sure you know that from your sunshine law trainings." And here's a couple that bothered her from Angela Ventura, Medina Township resident. June 27th, I quote, "Email asking for replies to trustee Paroli's record request. Did you call or text him instead? Question mark. I requested all correspondence. You're supposed to do your job, right?" Another one from Angela to Laura, June 21st, and I quote, "Are you working? Question mark. Why do I have to ask repeatedly? Would a hug get a quicker response?" June 18th from Angela to Laura, I quote, My request is for both correspondence to and from you and the other elected official in Lafayette Township. Your replies to Trustee Paroli are missing. Please send those as well. June 11th, I quote, "I am requesting records of correspondence between you and Trustee O'Neill, Paroli, or Fullerton regarding Oprah's contributions, Westfield Bank health insurance, or any physical contact that took place in the administration building from April 15th until the date this record is fulfilled." Another one from Angela, 4/8. I quote, "Administration hallway video from February 12th, 2025, from 3:05 p.m. to 3:10 p.m. Please include it on a flash drive and I'll pick it up with the previous record request." Another one, March 5th. "This request was made a month ago and has yet to be fulfilled. Redacting a year-old payroll journal took over a month? Question mark. Why? Question mark. This was from Angela's response from a lengthy payroll request on March 1st for a payroll journal that is not available per UAN support. UAN advised that the only report for the request is a 239-page wage detail report." And the last one that she was most bothered by was from Trustee Paroli, emailed her on June 26th, telling the fiscal officer how to do her job. He copied page 32 and highlighting her duties from the Ohio Township Association's fiscal officer source book and provided his suggestions on that matter. And my only comment after that is fiscal officer's compensation is set by the state.
All right, well,
Now that everyone knows.
No, you had your chance, so.
And all of this
so
can be obtained by
The
public record.
the official resignation letter was June 30th, 2025. "Dear Lafayette Township residents and Board of Trustees, I hereby tender my resignation as Lafayette Township and Lafayette Township Fire and Rescue District Fiscal Officer as of 5 p.m. Eastern on June 30th, 2025. I have enjoyed serving my community and wish the best for my township colleagues in this time of transition. Respectfully, Laura Rubensall." Now, let's address some of these issues. If the public records were of such great concern, why would she have then resigned at 5 p.m. and fulfilled the last public records request at 5:38 p.m. that same day? But let's go through the ideas here, or the issues that Trustee Fullerton decided to offer, again, knowing what the actual resignation letter said. The termination of the contract for services. I am not on the contract. Before we initiated Lightspeed, I asked for her to verify when our contract was up. She said we were off a contract. I'm not on the account. They won't talk to me. They won't release that information. So there'd be no way for me to verify that. Again, she failed to properly identify where it was. And so we had an additional fee that was charged. The glass desk. Rick, I think you measured that recently and replaced it, correct? The glass desk in the fiscal officer's office, that was just recently replaced, correct?
I don't know. I haven't been in there.
You didn't measure it to replace it? Well, either way, that was recently replaced, and I did sit on it. And it was like the second or third week in office, like almost 2 years ago, and I told her when it was replaced to let me know what it was and I would cover the bill, which I will still absolutely do. So, again, nice little politicking. Nobody ever said anything about my autistic child having an issue with the copier, and I would think that somebody would have brought that up, but it's nice to see that not only will you try to attack me, which is perfectly fine, but you'll attack an autistic 14-year-old child. Stop.
Oh, you're
The
gonna put your
executive
hand in my
sessions-
face. Oh, wow,
The
that's
executive
professional.
sessions, there is absolutely nothing that bars me from being able to speak about what happens in there should I wish to. The records retention policy. You see the laptop sitting in front of me. This is where all the township property and stuff is. Now, if we want to talk about that, Trustee Fullerton does the same thing I do. 2 cell phones, one for your personal business, one for your township business. However, he does both from both. I do all my township business from my township phone. So if we want to play that game, we can absolutely play that game. Publicly lynched, again, as a resident, I have a right to speak just like everybody else. Incorrect OPRs. She did not admit her error. As a matter of fact, here is the invoice from February 27th for OPRs, a penalty that we paid on Kristen Rowley's withholdings. Not her fault, but they were improperly withheld. You've sat here while I've asked about this for the last several months. I finally got OPRs, or got the township to put me on the OPRs account so I could get the right information. This invoice was sent to the township on February 27th, and maybe it was shared with them. I don't know if it was or not, but Laura paid it without bringing it to anybody on the board. So she didn't own her mistake. She tried to hide it, but this one was small enough that she probably could have got away with it. I absolutely missed it on the invoice, on the payment listing, but she never got it approved. But when Sherry's came in and it was $19,000, she had to own up to that one. If we're going to talk about public records requests, why on God's green earth would an elected official have to make a public records request of anything anyway? So this whole idea, this is countywide. Every one of these elected bodies sits up here and says that we shouldn't be harassed by public records. Everything we do is their business. Everything in that building belongs to them. It's not ours. It's not ours. It's theirs. So the idea that public records requests would be harassment, if you have that opinion, you have no business sitting at this desk. And that goes for everybody countywide. Public records are public records. They belong to them. So that's just the biggest joke of an excuse I've ever heard. As far as, whatever.
All right.
I think I've pretty well said.
All right, well, don't appreciate you putting your hand
I
up
don't
in
really
front of
give a
me,
shit,
Jake.
Ty.
So these are not my opinions. I'm sharing the concerns with the fiscal officer that you ran off.
All
So-
of those concerns at any point, when was the first time you issued any type of communication that there was any problem with the fiscal officer? When did you advise the rest of the board that there was a concern?
I didn't. I'm assuming she's talking to you guys.
Well, you know what they say about making assumptions, Ty.
Yeah.
When did you let the board know that she resigned?
Oh, the following morning.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so now that everyone knows how she left and why she left, let's see if we can't get the board to work together to bring someone in to help us out. I did bring someone here who would be willing to help as a deputy fiscal officer for however many weeks we need them. 3 weeks, I'm kind of guessing. I'm hoping for less, but we'll see. Justin, the applicant that you had brought, are they wanting to do the deputy position as well?
They would definitely be willing to help out, yes.
Okay, all right. Chris, did you bring anybody or have anyone in mind?
I reached out to people, don't have anybody.
Okay.
Now, just to be clear, I didn't bring anybody. Earlier last year, the county was redoing the courthouse, and in clearing out the courthouse, they had offered to anybody in the county that wanted to pick up some desks or filing cabinets or anything like that. So I had gone down to see what was going on, and Sherry Ward, who was there representing the Village of Spencer, because she's actually the fiscal officer in the Village of Spencer, also Gloria Glenn's and Polk Village, happened to mention, that she'd been following what was going on in the township, and, that she was a resident of Lafayette. So that just kind of was a nugget of information. So when Laura resigned, I did reach out to her, but, I don't know how you could find anybody. I mean, she's currently the fiscal officer for three different villages. Outside of that, I have no connection to Sherry whatsoever.
Does she have a full-time job as well, or does she just do the fiscal for those
I
three?
believe she's semi-retired and does those.
Okay, so her
But I asked her
resume
about
was,
the bandwidth, and she said that she could definitely handle the interim. I don't know if she has any interest in considering long-term, but
Okay.
she has the familiarity with UAN and the ability to get us through.
okay,
She is a township resident, so she would be eligible.
Well, and she would be eligible
if she was interested.
for the placement as well, yes.
okay. I brought in and talked with Martha Evans a couple times this weekend. Martha's been a fiscal officer for over 40-some years. She's trained, I don't even know how many, a bunch of fiscal officers. I want to say that she trained Sherry as well when Sherry started at Gloria Glenn's. Martha said she would be way more than happy to help us for a couple weeks or for however long it takes until we appoint someone into that position. At this point, I would be ready to make a motion and approve. So,
I'd like to, if you guys don't mind, I would like to recommend a quick executive session if we're going to discuss different people. Is Ms. Ward here tonight?
No, she's at one of the villages for their meetings, but again, I'll throw out my usual caveat. If we're discussing filling the fiscal officer position, it's not, anything that needs to be said in discussing these applicants can be said in front of the residents.
If they have pertinent information they'd
Excuse
like
me.
to share.
I think in the respect of a executive session, it would have to be one of the specified bases.
Right.
So which would it be?
I would say 121.22, paragraph G1, appointment or employment of personnel.
For the record, that's what I needed to hear. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
It would require a vote.
Yeah.
I would
Motion and a vote.
I would make the motion to,
All right, well, let's make a roll call and see where it lands.
Paroli, no.
O'Neill, yes?
Fullerton, yes.
Do we want to ask?
Coming in, we'll have the three trustees and Prosecutor Thompson, and then Martha Evans when we invite her in.
It could be a while.
All right, folks, we're back out of executive session. The time is 7:16 PM. No decisions were made back there. Thank you to Prosecutor Forrest Thompson for his help. Board, want to talk about anything that was brought up in executive session?
I think we all would agree probably that the best course of action is to appoint a deputy fiscal officer sooner than later. And as of right now, we've got 2 candidates that are interested in it. One is here tonight, and I think both of them have great experience. I've seen the resume, obviously, for Ms. Ward. Never met her in person. I've spoken with Ms. Evans several times, and we've called her for advice before. So my choice would be to appoint Martha Evans as our deputy fiscal officer until a permanent one is appointed.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to have any of the information concerning the qualifications and limitations? Do you want that put onto the record? I can do so very adroitly if you wish to.
Yes.
Before you start with the nomination process,
Yeah.
part of the limitations by statute are that, first and foremost, the deputy cannot serve at the same time as a standard or as a full-time fiscal officer. So the law contemplates that they don't both serve. So the deputy fiscal officer fill-in or position would be a temporary position until such time as a full-time fiscal officer is identified. The deputy fiscal officer's compensation, and this is the whole reason that they can't both serve at the same time. Well, I guess they could, but who in the world would? They're both paid out of the, as I said in the meeting, they're both paid out of the same pocket. In other words, a fiscal officer's salary is set by statute. And the law contemplates that if a deputy is appointed, they're paid, they cannot be paid more than what the fiscal officer would be paid by statute. So what they normally do, and as I explained, was they'll take the standard fiscal officer's salary and effectively divide it by 12. And there would be a monthly salary. I mean, this is an oversimplification, but the reason being the fiscal officer's salary is set by statute, and you can't pay more than that no matter the number of fiscal officers that you may have. So that's one of the guiding principles. The other is that the law requires that a new fiscal officer be selected within 30 days if this body is the body that selects. Now, what does that mean? Effectively, if this body fails to identify properly a new fiscal officer within those 30 days, which, by the way, it starts effectively from the first day of July, which would be the day following the resignation, then it goes to a committee set through the Board of Elections for selection process. If that committee was established, excuse me, and if not, it goes to the probate judge. And once a probate judge, and I've seen it happen once a probate judge, once it falls under their jurisdiction and authority, then effectively the township trustees have no role in the selection process. The interviews, the selection process, that's all solely at the guidance and at the selection of the probate judge. So those are the time frames that we are currently under. Also, as was brought up, there is a statutory provisions that says that the fiscal officer of the township is supposed to notify the Board of Elections of any vacancy of an elected official through death, resignation, what have you. There's no provision under the statute that allows anybody except the fiscal officer to make that recommendation or to make that announcement. And so that, as I have already stated, that would probably be the first order of business for any deputy fiscal officer that would be appointed. So again, the deputy fiscal officer would be serving in an interim capacity, and only until such time as a full-time fiscal officer was identified. So if anybody has any questions about that process, I'll be happy to try to answer. Otherwise, we can move forward.
Thanks, Forrest. Chris, anything else?
No, I have nothing more to add.
Justin?
Yeah. You know, and looking at the candidates that we have, we essentially have two candidates for deputy fiscal officer. We have Martha Evans, and just in full disclosure, she is the mother of our service department director. So, you know, let's make sure we're clear about that. And additionally, she would not be eligible to be the appointed fiscal officer, even if we wanted to. Whereas we currently have a township resident who serves as the fiscal officer in Gloria Glens, the village of Spencer, and the village of Polk. She does reside in the township, could add that level of continuity. She currently works within the system and has the bandwidth to do it, and would give us a fallback should we not be able to find a full-time fiscal officer that's competent within the next 30 days. So I don't see any reason why Sherry wouldn't be the choice, but it's pretty obvious that we're hiring Rick's mom, so that's what I have to say.
See? Yeah. All right. I guess it's my turn. Yeah, Sherry Ward, her resume looked good. Gloria Glens, Spencer, Polk. I'm almost thinking if she took on the township, it might be too much, honestly. Because the township has 2 UANs, 2 of everything. That's my only worry. I kind of wish I could have talked with Sherry about that. That was one of my concerns.
You couldn't reach her by phone in the 5 days since I sent you the resume?
And Martha, I've talked to her, and Martha trained Sherry at Gloria Glens, and I think has been helping her at Spencer as well.
Why do we have 2 UANs again?
Am I talking?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Martha's been around the block for 43 plus years as a full-time fiscal officer, and she's been training a bunch of people. I think she's a good fit. She understands it's only going to be for a couple weeks, maybe a month or less, something like that. She's totally aware of that, because that's what she's been doing for 40-some years. I think it's a perfect fit. Obviously, she can't be the full-time fiscal officer, so Sherry Ward is still in the running for the full-time position, obviously. But for right now, I think Martha can get us up and running here in very short order. So, did
Till
you
we
make
hire
the
your
motion
neighbor,
for
right?
her, Chris?
I'm sorry?
Did you make the motion for?
I did not make a motion. but
All right, I'll make the
everybody-
motion that we appoint Martha Evans as Deputy Fiscal Officer.
I'll second.
And I'd like to roll call vote that for Resolution 11. Fullerton, yes?
O'Neill, yes?
Probably no.
Okay.
What about the statute?
2 yeses have it. We're not doing public comment yet. Barb, thanks. All right.
Looks like Mrs. Evans wants to say something.
No. We're not doing public comment at this point.
Martha, go ahead. We just appointed you.
Well, may I say at this point in time, that would be certainly, I wanted to help, but after I have witnessed the reasons why Laura has resigned and missed this meeting, I do not, you do have someone that you can do. I did this only because you did not have anyone. And you as a board are running the township business. This is your job to see that this township continues to run smoothly as well as that you can. But this is such a toxic type place. I do not feel that I would be qualified and would be able to handle this, so I will decline.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being honest.
Integrity.
All right,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you, Martha. Chris?
I'll make the motion to appoint Sherry Ward to our deputy fiscal officer position.
All right. Roll call vote?
You need a second, Ty?
Hmm?
You need a second on the motion?
Yep. No.
You need somebody to second the motion.
Oh, yeah. Did you second it?
I did not.
Okay. I'll second. Roll call vote?
Paroli, yes.
O'Neill, yes?
Fullerton, yes. All right, Sherry, now we need resolution compensation.
I would make a motion to compensate the deputy fiscal officer at the same rate as the fiscal officer has been compensated for the year.
1/12 of the annual salary.
1/12 of the annual salary for
Weekly,
her.
however we end up
Right.
doing it.
Because
I would simply qualify that by suggesting that the motion include that it's set by statute.
set by statute, yeah, the salary set by statute.
I'll second.
Okay. All right,
Paroli, yes.
O'Neill, yes?
Fullerton, yes. All right, I'm writing at the same time.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Sherry's not here. She's at another municipality, so we can swear her in tomorrow, whenever. I did talk with Huntington Bank. I emailed the trustees. Huntington sent over a new signature card, basically, for whoever was appointed, so we can get them signed up for Huntington tomorrow. Westfield Bank, the same thing, so we can get the signature for Huntington. The bond, I did talk to Renee at Barron Insurance for the bond for the fiscal officer, so we can get that done tomorrow. So we can get a lot of things done tomorrow.
Assuming she's available. I mean, do you know her well?
Yeah,
enough that we can-
well, I mean-
I'll reach out to her first thing tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
depending on what time we get done here tonight.
Yeah, yeah. So, yep, all right, so that's covered. So that's done, good. All right, anything else under fiscal? Chris, Justin, anything fiscal?
Nope.
Okay. All right,
Should you need anything else?
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for it. All right, service report?
We got these late today, but have you guys had a chance to review them?
Yeah.
Okay, there's not a whole lot more to add. A couple quick things. This afternoon, if you guys don't mind me responding, we got a request from TC Energy Pipeline regarding the pipeline in the area of Lions Park. They just want to know basic occupancy and that kind of stuff. I'll get back to them if it's okay with you guys on that. I don't know if Rick has told you guys, the county did not get our OPWC application in for the Ballish Road project in time for this year. So the plan will be to do it next year for the same exact amount. If it's okay with you guys, I will do the e-sign online, and nothing will really change other than it'll be next year. And it doesn't commit us to anything either. If, you know,
Right.
the bids come back and they're not in line.
Mhm.
We can decide otherwise.
Yep.
So,
All right, that's it for service?
are you okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, that's it for service.
Fire Chief Kavanaugh.
Good evening. We had 59 calls in the month, or 57 calls in the month of June. We had 1 in Chatham Township, 3 in the city of Medina, 1 in the city of Wadsworth, 42 in Lafayette Township, 8 in Chippewa Lake, 1 in Gloria Glens, and 1 in Lodi, 57 total. 72% of those were EMS calls, and the rest were fire or other service calls. Minute and 53 seconds is our average turnout time, and 5 minutes and 22 seconds to be on scene anywhere in the township, which is really good. So we gave mutual aid to Medina City twice, Lafayette Town. We received City of Medina twice, Chatham once, and we received mutual aid 3 times. We taught CPR to 5 members of our community on June 28th. We also have been notified that we've been approved for the training and equipment grant through the Ohio Division of EMS in the amount of $3,746.44. 16 of our firefighters attended a basic pump operation course on June 14th. This course is vital to stay proficient in operating a fire engine at scene. Our department did a walk through the slaughterhouse and reviewed the pre-incident plans. Medic 2 experienced a power surge during a recent storm, and the inverter was damaged as well as the Kuzmal. Both parts are replaced now, and the vehicle is back in service. I've not gotten the total invoice on that yet. That will be coming. It's probably under the 3,000 as well, so which is good. I thought it was going to be a lot more when I sent that information to you. We also need large diameter discharge hose. Engine 3, our LDH, has 1,400 feet of 30-year-old hose. Hoses typically should be replaced every 10 years, is what NFPA. Usually fire hose goes beyond those dates quite a bit. This particular hose is it's called Jaffrey hose, and it's very outdated, and it's a struggle sometimes to connect with our other hoses. Right now, 1,000 feet, which would be all we would need, would be $6,800 for a 100-foot section is $680 per 100-foot section. The current, this is last year's prices, and they're going to honor those last year prices. Current LDH hose is about $899 per 100-foot. So we're going to need to plan for that in the future regardless. The hose is 30 years old. It's prone to failure. So we need to work on a plan to potentially replace that eventually. So right now it'd be $680 per 100 foot. For 1,000 feet would be $6,800, or $899 next year. So I've submitted 2 quotes to receive repairs on our fire alarm system. I've reached out to a third, which is Johnson Controls. They have not gotten back to me. One's from Corson Fire and Security, and one's from Environmental Controls. And just, I think you got the information on those. If you need more information, I've got it with me tonight if you want to talk about that. And we received 2 quotes for repairs of the weather siren located at 677 Wedgewood Road, 6776 Wedgewood Road at the admin building. One from Vasu Communication, one from Federal Signal. And I don't know if you have any questions on those. So the gist of it is the weather siren that we have currently is it's end of life. One of the motors is already bad according to Federal Signal Corps. So it's only half of a motor when it goes off, or the second motor that goes off. So both companies recommend replacing the entire thing, which is anywhere between, I think it was $38,000 and $36,000. So upgrading the radio would only be, which wouldn't fix that motor problem, which would be about $15,000. So.
And if we replace it, we don't have to do the upgrade?
No, we would just complete replacement. They would have to evaluate the pole, and that would be the other cost. The pole that it goes on is probably, I don't know what that would cost either, but I think that's all in those quotes that I submitted to you guys. And Drew DeSimone, we hired him probably November of this past year. He has just been very busy. His wife got a new job, and I think I sent you his resignation letter. He's just not had time to fulfill his requirements here, so he has sent his resignation letter in. So, and then I'd like the board to consider the appointment of Carson Lair He's a firefighter, 2 EMT, but he's got a bachelor's degree in business management, associate in fire science. He will also be attending medical school this fall. His background check and drug screening has been completed. This would bring our current roster to 36, which is great. So we're not having any trouble filling our schedule anymore.
And I do think we owe a congratulations to newly appointed Chief Grossenball, right?
Oh,
You-
yes, one of our firefighters, yeah, he's Justin Rosenthal. He was the Hinckley Fire Chief, and he is now the Highland Hills Fire Chief, and he's one of our firefighters here. He's a great asset to have around here, so. We also have Rob, also I'd like to brag about Rob Haas, who's also a current fire chief, but
he
does a
didn't
lot
get-
of technical
he didn't
rescue
get just
stuff and
hired, so.
is very valuable in all the tech rescue things that we have to do around here, so. Like sinking kayaks in Chippewa Lake.
Chief, back to the ambulance that got the surge.
Yes, sir.
You're thinking the bill's gonna be around 3,000-ish?
Yeah.
Or is the board okay with sending that in to Barron and for
Yeah.
insurance? Whatever it is. And then we talked about the sign also. Was any breakers or anything else in the department? Is that everything
So-
else okay?
A lot of our, that evening, a lot of our garage doors tripped. All the breakers tripped, or a lot of the breakers tripped. We've been able to reset those breakers that same evening that I believe the sign went out. But for some reason, that sign just randomly turned back on a Sunday. It's very odd.
I think the sign's a separate issue.
Right, but I don't know if that was the case, like if the whole building got hit and.
Well, I
but-
did
But
call.
we've had issues with the sign.
I did call them several
Yeah.
times, so I don't know if the issue was on their end or what, because they never got back to me, and then you called and said it's working, so.
Yeah, I just drove by after, like on a Sunday, and it was working all of a sudden. I'm like, whoa, the sign's up.
There's a hole in the top of that thing that I think water's getting down in.
Oh, maybe.
And then when it dries out, it comes back on. Because Kristen, the last time we had an issue with that
This
sign,
is
like
the
it
third
just
time.
magically started working, right? Though they didn't, they never really
They
said.
said it had to do a reboot, but
Right.
this is like the third reboot that it's, like, it shouldn't have to keep doing that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe if we, I don't know. I wish they would send someone out.
To look at it,
actually
yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, thanks, you guys.
All right, so Chief, when you get that invoice, just make sure you copy all of us on it and then get it down to Renee at Barron and she'll start the process on it. Yeah, and make a motion to hire Carson Lair.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Okay. Bring Carson on.
And then you wanted to accept Drew's resignation as well?
He doesn't need to quit.
All right, I know, I don't want him to. He's a great guy. All right, you read his email if you want to read it. I mean, it's a good
That's
email.
all right.
He's a good
I'll
guy.
Yeah,
I'll make
he's a
the
good
motion to
guy.
accept the resignation of Drew DeSimone.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Chief.
Lieutenant?
Got a report this time, huh? Just this one. All right.
Just a few highlights from last month. There were 42 agency or fire assists, 24 extra patrols for traffic, 23 traffic stops, 6 disturbances, 4 accident with injuries, and 6 welfare checks. There was a total of 317 incidents last month. Last week, we swore in our newest officer, Brandon Johnson, in Lafayette Township. He is in field training and with an experienced officer, and he'll be in field training for about 12 weeks until he's out on his own. I did want to bring up, when we assisted the zoning department back in May on Hunter's Drive, over the 3 days, we had over 70 hours in officer time providing security at that location. And lastly, summer's here. We receive a lot of traffic complaints for speed and traffic offenses. So just a reminder, with the weather being nice, people being outside, please slow down. Pay attention. That's That's all I have, unless you guys have anything.
Just thank you again for your assistance at Hunter Drive. I know that was a lot of work on your department, so thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Zoning?
I guess the first order of business for zoning, Chase, I don't mean to call you out, but do you want to read it since you're here, or? No. Okay, sorry. I do think it's important, so I'm sorry, but earlier in June, but since our last meeting, we did receive a resignation from one of our zoning commission members. Chase Burmeister, on June 10th, wrote, "Dear members of the Lafayette Township Zoning Commission, effective June 10th, 2025, I hereby resign from my position of the Lafayette Township Zoning Commission. This decision does not come lightly, but it is one I make with conviction. I can no longer in good conscience serve under an administration whose actions and values diverge so sharply from the principles I believe should guide public service. The increasing political unrest within our township is deeply troubling, but what is most concerning is the erosion of integrity, transparency, and moral accountability at the administrative level. I joined the Zoning Commission with the intent to serve my community honorably and to help ensure that decisions were made with fairness, foresight, and respect for all residents. Unfortunately, the current climate has made it increasingly difficult to fulfill that mission. It is disheartening to witness the normalization of behavior that disregards ethical standards and the public trust. I will not lend my name or my service to a system that no longer reflects the values of honest governance. My hope is that this resignation serves as a clear and principled statement of dissent and a reminder that integrity and leadership still matters. Respectfully, Chase Burmeister." And I didn't mean to read that on the record to embarrass you, Chase, but I do think that those words are very important for everybody to hear, especially the three of us here at this table. I thank you for the time that you served the board. I appreciate the effort that you made. I'm sorry to have been a part of what led you to this decision, and I'll leave it at that. So I guess I would make the motion to accept the resignation of Chase Burmeister from the Zoning Commission.
Reluctantly, I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chase.
Thank you, Chase.
For the month of June, we had 16 permits written, 1 lot split. Fees collected were $2,548.80 with an estimated value of $988,500. The BZA met on June 17th to approve the minutes and findings of fact for variance 003-2025, our parcel at 7490 Coon Club Road. The next meeting is set for July 15th. The Zoning Commission met on June 10th, and their next meeting, and held a special meeting on June 17th. We have a number, actually, you know what? Well, before we get into the zoning issues, or all the zoning issues, did you get a chance to follow up with the prosecutor's office on 6808 Spencer Lake?
They were going to order a title search. That was his recommendation. I have not heard back from them on that yet, so I don't know if it's...
I guess my question is, I drove out there earlier today, again, just to kind of see what the current status is, and, I don't know what the long-term remedy that the board's considering, but under the same nuisance designation that allows us to do the cleanups, it does indicate grass over 8 inches, we can clean up the property and assess it the same way. Just something for the board to consider. I don't know if we want to get into the practice of mowing people's yards, but I do think at a certain point, we've got another one over on Lake Road, Ryan Road.
Yeah.
Closer to the city. They did mow the front yard, it looks like, but the back is still, waist high and then some, so.
Where's your thoughts on that? Just
Well, like I
have
said, I mean,
serv- if service has time, run them down there and do
Well,
it
I mean,
and charge them?
we can do that. I do think that if we make a practice of maybe notifying the property owners of the process, it might light a fire too, right? Like, if it's, especially, out on Spencer Lake, you're in a more rural part of the township, you get some people that are kind of like, hey, it's the country, do whatever. And to a certain degree, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that we want to, police it to that level, but it's kind of one of those ones where how far is too far?
Right.
So, just something for us to consider, but I did find it interesting because, obviously we don't have the same authorities that cities and villages have with, it's 2.5 inches and it's supposed to be 2 inches, so we're gonna do that. But it does fall under the same nuisance ordinance if we do decide that we want to have the zoning inspector send some stuff out. The other big ones that we have going on, no one seems to be taking care. Most of these have been, I mean, done a pretty good job of cleaning them up. The building department's working on a couple. You guys saw the email from earlier today from Commissioner Sweattick about the Polka Road and being able to do that. So it sounds like we're going to get some assistance from the building department finally and add to that. But I do think, we should get with Sherry and have her look at, where the zoning violations are in our code and have those citations issued to offer our assistance. Thoughts?
I agree.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, finally, someone's getting back with us. So.
Yeah, that took some time. And I will say, it's kind of that squeaky wheel gets the grease. Unfortunately, Samantha, the homeowner next door, I think she reached out to the health department, to the building department, to the commissioners, to Mayor Manuel got an email that wound up on Lieutenant Markham's desk. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that it had to come to that, but we're going to finally get some assistance there. The only other thing that I have on zoning, obviously we touched on it a little bit earlier today with the fact that we did have the special meeting to discuss some of the issues. I had previously expressed my concerns to you two about being able to oversee zoning given, the stark difference in our opinions on how things should be run, the three of us. And I do think it's gotten to the point where it is having a negative impact on, everybody that works within zoning to have the two of you constantly having a separate opinion from what I'm doing over there. So while I can't force you to appoint a new zoning liaison, I will not be serving as a zoning liaison moving forward. So just letting you guys know, it's not fair to the employees to have them constantly asking me, as they're supposed to, for the zoning liaison, how liaisons work over the departments for guidance, and then turning around and getting a different guidance from you guys. So
Do you really think that I work against you on zoning?
100%.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Like, for example?
For example, we wouldn't even discuss the issues that happened with what's going to be the fallout from the Hunter Drive cleanup. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds just because we have 3 truckloads worth of material that are now being returned to Hunter Drive that will be on the taxpayer's expense because things were removed from that property that were never supposed to have been removed. Things were, and several of those items were potentially damaged by the people that we hired to do it under the oversight of our zoning inspector. So again, those will be things that are potentially costs that are going to be borne by the taxpayers.
And you think somehow I directed that above and beyond you? Or?
I don't think so at all. But I think the fact that there is a constant set of different messages coming from the board to the people within our zoning commission, our BZA, and our zoning inspector and zoning secretary, it's not fair to them. So you two seem to be much more on the same page with how you want zoning to run, and that's fine. That's the way this board is supposed to run. But it's not fair to ask them to come to me, and then obviously I give one set of guidance, I have one opinion, you counter that. You didn't even want to discuss letting go of a zoning inspector who we have serious confidence issues, at least I have serious confidence issues in the honesty and integrity of the information that she provides to me when we speak about issues that are in front of the township. You guys clearly don't share that opinion, which is fine. But with that being the case, she's yet to reach out to me for anything since June. She's clearly coming to somebody. Chris, you signed her timesheet the last time around. And I'm not saying you're not entitled to do so, but it just can't continue this way. So again, while I can't force you to appoint a new liaison, you can't force me to continue to oversee a department that is not taking any guidance from me because it's clear that you're on a different page. So that's just the way we're going to do things going forward.
You didn't even want to talk with her. You didn't want to sit her down amongst the three of us and we could have talked. I mean, if I'm going to get let go from someplace, I would appreciate a sit down with my employer.
She filed a police report.
We didn't do that, Justin. The very first executive session we had on that, I said, we didn't give her the opportunity. You were ready to go out and let her go right off the rip. We didn't even have a.
Right, because you wouldn't even bring it up. You wouldn't even bring it up to have a discussion.
At the second meeting, the first time, you had no desire to bring her in. You just wanted to let the hammer fall right then and there. I think we owe it to somebody, hey, if they're not doing the right job, if they're not doing a good job, they should at least be in front of that.
There is no offense. There is no offense that arises. Like, again, not saying it happened, but if we have security camera footage in the office of somebody taking money out of a drawer, let's say as an example, you're going to want to sit down and have a conversation with them before you let them go?
I think they always have an opportunity to be heard, don't they? Shouldn't they? I mean, you could show
No.
them footage in that example, but
No, I think that there are offenses that rise to the level where you make a decisive action and move the township forward with some sort of conviction as opposed to continually allowing people to have no accountability for any actions.
didn't say anything about accountability, didn't say anything about no.
What accountability has there been for any of
You didn't
that?
want to even sit down as a board and talk with her
We-
about her performance.
We sat down and talked as a board, and neither one of you even wanted to consider taking any action whatsoever.
Was that not one of the first things I said in the first meeting back then? She's owed that opportunity to be heard?
But you wouldn't even, anyway.
Yeah.
Again,
Todd, you have any desire to be a zoning liaison?
I would do whatever it takes. I can do it.
I'm okay with it. I don't even know if we need a motion, but we can. I'll make the motion for Todd Fullerton to take over the zoning liaisonship.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Who takes fire? Who takes fire? You okay with fire, Justin?
I have no problem with that. You have an issue with that, chief?
All right. Motion for Justin to take fire?
I'll make the motion for Justin to take over fire.
Second? I'll second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We'll switcheroonie. All right, anything else on zoning?
Real quick, though, we did remove the Chippewa overlay during our last meeting. We voted
Yes.
to do that. Karen, that has to be given to the recorder's office
It's
within.
on the list.
Okay, good.
I'm, got a letter ready to go out, and I sent a notice to, the zoning commission who's meeting tomorrow to bring their books. I already have the copies made without that in there, but I want to collect, from everybody's book, and the same with BZA.
The one thing I would add, I guess, that I should bring up to the zoning, and I don't know if either of the two of you got approached by it, but I got a call from Wayne Phillips, who's senior, who's overseeing the country club. He was told that the permit for the new country club would have a zoning fee of $103,000.
Justin, I don't believe he's provided us with a total for that project yet.
I'm just trying to understand where that number comes from, and then I think we also have to have a discussion as a board. I can definitely see where we have a gap in the fee structure that we've had in the past, because we've really never had anything commercial on this level, but Ohio statute does not allow you to charge zoning fees in excess of the costs associated with issuing a permit. So I think we can all agree that the township does not incur anywhere near $103,000 worth of costs. So again, I think we spent a lot of time reviewing the fee structure, but we kind of always viewed it through what it's always been in Lafayette, mostly residential homes and never considered.
They have stuff in there regarding the commercial.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is nobody in the county, you can't justify a zoning fee anywhere remotely close to that amount. If you look at, just as an example, I pulled the one from Medina Township, where the largest commercial zoning permit fee is $2,000. So I think, the way for us to remedy this is to look at, putting some sort of cap. We don't necessarily need to change the way we do the calculations or the fees or anything along those lines, but we probably should have a cap that's at some realistic number, whether it's $2,500. I think in looking back, I think the largest permit that we've written that I could find, Kristen pulled some of the old reports for me earlier today, was $3,900 for the Jim Wise Golf Academy. So again, I would maybe open it up to discussion on that part of it, but we should probably put a cap in place so that we don't, again, I don't know that it's gonna come up too often, but I don't see why we would ask them to write a.
Can't slide in a six-figure permit fee.
You can try, but I mean, I would imagine we'll get sued over it. Maybe not.
We should consider that, though, you're right. I agree.
Now, I don't know, I don't think he's issuing a permit within the next, he's not gonna be applying for the full permit in the next
Right,
30 days
right.
anyway.
No,
So
no.
maybe the board can think about, maybe look at some of the other townships and get an idea of where we wanna go with that, and we can discuss a cap at the next meeting. Okay.
Justin, just staying on zoning just for a second, you got the 100 Drive folder, it's
Yes.
almost done, you might as well finish.
Yeah, I can
the
finish
lead
it,
on
I'll definitely finish up the 100 Drive one since, yeah.
And I don't know if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
anything else big.
Nothing, no. The rest of it's all pretty much small stuff, some little zoning complaints here and there. The next one that'll probably be a little bit of work is gonna be, Polker, potentially, the, pace, just working with the county on that, but, you may have more luck with Richard anyway, so.
Mhm. I know they're busy, well, I guess that's what I hear anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, anything else there?
Nope.
Okay. All right, good. All right, public comment is next. I'm sorry, what?
So that we can hear them, the thing right here.
Oh, you want it up there closer?
We don't wanna miss any of your speech.
Mark Frederick, 6146 West Smith Road, Medina, Ohio, United States of America, continent North America, planet Earth, Milky Way solar system, it ain't hard to find me. With liberty and justice for all. After hearing what's going on around my township today, it's too bad Forrest left. I kind of wanted to ask him what he thinks, whether it would be prudent and smart to maybe have a state forensic audit to make sure there's nothing criminal going on. I'm not saying there is, I'm saying maybe we need to make sure there isn't. And if there's nothing criminal, at least make sure there's just plain stupidity. That's the first thing. The other thing is, I'm kind of enjoying this touring circus. You know, it's really turning into quite a shit show. You know? And as far as things go around here, Justin, don't feel bad that you couldn't get into that office. I couldn't get in there either. It's public record and stuff, but don't worry about it, just paper. So basically, that's all I wanted to say. I think we need to look into this, make sure there's nothing fishy going on with our funds. And let's hope that things work out good for the township. Thank you.
Barb Petrak, Ryan Road. Can everybody hear me?
Talking to Mike.
Can you hear me now? I got a couple of things here. First thing, I guess, is when we're seeing the video of the records room, and that, Laura quit. So this motion that was made that would only allow her access to the records, was that the lock to the door, or the cabinets, or what was that key for?
The room itself.
Okay, so then that leads me to, so you and another young lady were in the records room before she resigned, right?
Apparently Laura had issued her a key.
So-
I don't have one.
Okay, so I guess procedurally, the motion was made for her to have a key only. So she can just take it on
She's the
herself?
keeper of the records, yeah, absolutely. She's the keeper of the keys, what you call fiscal officer. I don't know how else to say it.
What I
Barb.
got out of this was, a motion was made for her only to have a key. So to me, that says she should only have the key. She can make them up willy-nilly without any procedure. I mean, that doesn't sound quite right.
Yeah.
See, that's nonchalant. I'm trying to get an answer you know.
Yeah, I don't have an answer, Barb. That's why I said she obviously gave that person a key. That's all I can say.
that's the end of it.
Obviously.
That doesn't sound too good. Okay. Oh, yeah. When, I think earlier, Ty, you were talking about or mentioned unnecessary records requests. Was that how you put it?
Oh, that was Laura's complaints, not mine. I was just reading it, her
Okay.
concerns, yeah.
Well, just for whoever else is in charge of that, you know, if a resident is requesting records, there's probably a good reason for it. And for the person in charge of those records, if those were her words, unnecessary, then how good is she gonna be at that job if she thinks somebody making a request is unnecessary?
Yeah, I can't comment for her there.
No, I'm talking about for the next person. You
Good
know,
point.
You know, okay, so that's that. Sorry about this, guys. Okay. Then another question. So, since you fellas are public officials, you're not supposed to profit or gain because of your positions as trustees, is that right? You agree?
Sure.
Okay, so then I have another question is, you're self-employed, right, Ty? And I'm wondering if you have contracts with other townships to supply them things for your business.
I have multiple municipalities around Ohio, yeah.
And then I'm wondering, were those contracts made before you became a trustee or after?
Absolutely before.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. And, gosh, oh yeah, sorry to Rick's mom. Martha was her name, right? Was it Martha? Okay. Nothing personal here, but when you guys were talking about filling that position temporarily, sorry to put you on the spot here, what was, there was something because of the relationship being related to somebody that Martha shouldn't be appointed to the position?
Well,
Did I understand that right?
I just wanted to make sure that it was clear on the record, because I do think that anytime that there are potential conflicts or connections, that it should be disclosed to the public before we make hiring. That doesn't mean that.
It can't happen.
Correct. It would be just like anybody, anybody that was related to or close to one of us. I mean, I feel that it's important to share those potential conflicts or any of those relationships with the public before we make a decision.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thanks, guys.
Yep.
Doug Mays, I live at 6279 Hoover Drive. I just wanted to know if the trustees from the last meeting had a chance to look at the parking restriction requested on Hoover Drive on the bend at about 300 or 400 feet. Said you would check it out and come to a conclusion. I just wondered if you were able to come to a conclusion on that.
I have talked with them. I don't know if you guys had a chance to reach out to any of the HOA people.
I've not talked to HOA people.
I've been out there to get a better understanding of the area that we're talking about, but I have not spoken outside of, the residents that came to the last meeting. My opinion hasn't changed since the June meeting.
One of the officers of their board had reached out to me, and it was right before the holiday, I guess, or no, I think it was the day after. It doesn't matter. And would like to come to the next meeting. He knew we'd be busy talking about a fiscal officer, so they do want to bring it back up next month for discussion. So.
Discussion of parking restriction on the
Yeah.
bend?
Yeah.
One of our HOA officers.
I think it president contacted me after our meeting, I believe.
Yeah, so if they're still wanting to do that, you know, we can put it on the agenda for next month.
Still pending that.
Yeah, there hasn't been any decisions made by the board.
Michael Villar, 5535 Wagon Trail. I just had a question about the Westfield Bank fallout and how that's going to impact us since we have deposits on hand with them.
Fallout, what do you, I'm not sure what you mean.
First Financial acquired Westfield Bank in a $325 million deal.
Oh, yep, no, I haven't talked with Westfield about that.
Okay. I just find it interesting that we make a substantial deposit with them, then someone rushes in and buys them out, and all of our interest changes upon that happening. It's just really odd timing.
Jared didn't reach out to you, Ty?
I haven't heard from anyone.
All right.
So we don't have any information on that.
We'll call tomorrow, that's for sure.
I am happy, though, that First Financial saved possibly one of our service department employees' wife's job, though. That's encouraging to know. The other question that I have is, there was rumors about a video that was going around and the actual reason that Fiscal Officer Rubensaul left. Now, I gotta tell you, I didn't think it was true. I didn't think there was a video going around, and I didn't understand why there was rumors that Fiscal Officer Rubensaul's husband had to come and sit with her during the day. Was that true? Did she have to come up and sit up here?
Sit up here?
Yeah, to protect his wife?
Well, I wouldn't know that.
Well, after seeing the video, I understand as a husband why someone would want to come up and protect their wife. And it wasn't from Mr. Costello or Ms. Ventura. And if you see the video by chance, you'll understand why he had to come up and protect his wife. Her and another individual snuck off camera to be out of Kristen's sight to engage in some intimate activity. When you put 15 cameras in a room, you got to make sure that you remember you put 15 cameras in a room.
This is political theater 101 right here.
Trustee Fullerton immediately had the footage destroyed, ordered it destroyed.
Oh my God, ordered it destroyed.
Did you or did you not?
No, I did not. I have nothing to do with that.
Where's the footage?
He's got it.
Apparently you saw it, right?
Apparently you saw it, yeah.
So did you order?
Yeah, that's a made-up story, Michael Belair, and you know it.
It's not a made-up story.
So the video he's referring to, and I mentioned it earlier, and what Laura's concerns were, Angela Ventura had requested video footage from our hallway camera at the admin. I'm like, well, that's really weird, whatever. And then it was a video of me giving Laura a hug. Maybe you ought to ask Laura why she needed a hug that day.
Okay.
We'll just leave it at that.
All right.
That's just not kosher. Sometimes people need a hug, and you know that.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Yeah.
Why would you want to delete footage of that then?
I had nothing to do with camera footage.
Okay.
Isn't it sad?
Yeah. That's pretty sad. All right, anybody else?
Mike Costello, 5525 Wagon Trail. Ty, you read a letter from Ms. Rubensaul with some conviction there. And,
Yeah, I give you a copy.
What's that?
So I give you a copy if you want.
Oh, that's awesome. You're going to give me a copy today, but you wouldn't give me a copy of the
I
deed
brought
restriction at the
copies
last
today.
meeting. Awesome.
Yep.
So, you know, you think it's okay for fiscal officers to not comply with state statute on issuing public record requests? and then doctoring them up and redacting information that's not redactable information 2 times. And of course, what other recourse do I have other than filing with the Court of Claims to get it? When Laura has stonewalled me 2 times for information that I am entitled to, not only as a resident and a taxpayer of this community, but as a citizen. Anybody can get a public record from any government entity. You do not have to live there. You do not have to be a taxpayer there. You don't have to own property there. I don't understand what Ms. Rubensal's problem was in giving the correct information other than covering up her mistakes. She paid for over 2 years for one employee into Social Security. I don't know what she does when she goes to the conference down in Columbus, but she should have known that that was not the way to handle it. And then she tried to cover it up by making a payment to OPERS without running it through the board and redacting information on these sheets. So I do have all the records. I will print them out for the next meeting. I'll print out all the emails, and I'm glad she's gone, because maybe we'll have a competent fiscal officer in office now.
Okay, anybody else?
Ty, you're deflecting, and the
Can you
email
say
that
your name and address for the
Oh,
record?
sorry, Angela Ventura, Worcester Lane. Ty, you're deflecting. The emails that you read, first of all, I'm a little confused, because if Laura wrote a resignation letter, then why do you have a different resignation letter? Did she just put out multiples and you're just gonna pick which one fits, or I just.
Angela, I'm not going to answer any of your questions because you always put words in my mouth. You always interrupt me. I read it. These are the concerns of the fiscal officer, why she
It seems like there were
quit.
two
So
different
that's all I
resignation
can say.
letters. So anyways, the video that you're speaking of, I requested a 5-minute segment. That video was deleted after your IT person was instructed to delete it. What I received, because one trustee had it saved, was a little over a minute. And yes, there was improper physical contact. And Ty, you have been asked repeatedly where money has gone missing. Laura commonly refers to mattress money. Okay, so yes,
I have never
there
heard
are-
that in my life.
Of course you, just like you never heard of
See, here
form
you go,
fire.
creating stories.
Okay.
I'm not
If you-
answering anything from you.
You don't have to answer anything, it's my public comment.
That's
You don't
right.
have to speak. It's unacceptable. You sit up here and you tell this room full of people and all of the people who watch the videos, you have a township that cares, and you are dishonest. And if you're gonna say your fiscal officer resigned because of public records requests, well, that's just too damn bad. That's part of her job. And, you know, something that's interesting, the last, 3 meetings now? She hasn't been to a meeting since that video was released, by the way. Coincidental, right? But the last 3 meetings, the trustees have not voted to authorize warrants, payments. Have there not been any bills paid? That's right, you're not answering my questions, but hopefully there haven't been. So, and, you know, just one last thing. Chris had said that he believes that you as a board owe it to your employees to sit down with them if there's an issue, right? But in the same breath now, and you agreed, you have somebody who is in the records room who shouldn't have been. And you say, I don't know why, I have no idea. Well, she's sitting here. So maybe you should ask. Has there been any other, the video footage, I think there's a retention schedule, I'm not sure how long it goes back. Justin, can you tell me how long your retention schedule is for videos?
For videos, 30 days.
Okay. It would be interesting to know if anyone was in that room within the past 30 days, not just on the 30th. So I'd like to get a copy of that, please. Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Steve Demonsky, 6755 Lake Road. I just have a quick question. We're discussing this thing about the video and who should have the keys, and what was voted in at the meeting and things of that nature. Okay, this has happened now. It's in the past. My question to the board is, what do we do in the future to stop this from happening again? Because all I keep hearing is, well, gee, I don't know why it happened. What can we do? What can we do to stop this from happening and maybe get a little bit of order in what's happening with things now? I just think it's something that needs to be looked into. Thanks.
Good, thanks, Steve.
My name's Robert Clark. I live at 7588 Lafayette Road. I've been talking to Sherry. I was to the last zoning meeting. I've talked to the building department. I've talked to the health department. I've talked to the county on permits. My neighbor has built a multi-million-dollar house back in the woods. He just found out in December about it. Sherry sent you a list of pictures and complaints about this property, and nothing was brought up here in the zoning report today. I want to know what's going on. He's building on a property line. Nothing's been said. He has 2 dwellings. Last zoning meeting, it was said that 1 dwelling can be on the property. He's planning on tying both to his septic system that has been illegally installed 30 years ago. Saturday, I had to call the police on him because he's trying to claim my property because he keeps infringing on my property. He threatened the police department yesterday, Saturday. The officer Brink said that he has $2 billion. Don't mess with him. So what's our township going to do about this guy? His property's on both sides of me. The one side, you sat here today and said grass is 8 inches tall. You're talking about cleaning up. He has grass this tall. He has 2 houses. He has a house and a barn that's falling down. Pictures have been sent to you guys. What are we going to do about it? That's on one side of the property. He has asphalt stacked this high that you can see on aerial photographs that's leaching toward my pond. It's been there for a year. What's going to be happening? I want some answers because this has been going on too long. You guys are aware of it. Jerry sent stuff to you. Nothing's been mentioned tonight. Zoning was made aware last month of the zoning meeting.
The fill, and I apologize if Sherry didn't get feedback back to you. The fill, the housing department looked at it, and his story is that he's going to be using it as a base for a driveway. So statute allows. Okay, but I'm not disagreeing with you. But
for his pig farm, he said, told me Saturday he's going to put in.
Statute gives him a year to keep it stored there in order to be able to do that.
It's been there a year. I got emails, text messages that said, "Hey, I'm going to be driving cement trucks up here to put the concrete in last April." So it's been over a year. He's had that concrete on that asphalt on the property.
The best thing that we can do is fine him, issue him a zoning violation for the two houses.
He has 4 businesses on his property.
Yeah.
In a residential area. 4 businesses.
And as long as they're all contained inside of.
He has a sign up front that says yoga.
Yeah, that's not.
He has a house building business.
He can run as many, if you read our code allows as many home occupations as you want, as long as they're within the structures that are on the property and they're not spilling outside.
You don't have approval on none of the structures that's on the property.
Okay.
I've gone to the building department. They have no approvals from anything. He doesn't have one on the house he's building now from our township.
Right, and we can issue him a violation on that, but the building department is ultimately. That's up to Sherry. I mean.
Sherry said she's contacted you guys because you are the trustees to know which way to go. And she informed me to come tonight to find out what you're doing. Because here we are.
It sounds to me like a zoning inspector that doesn't do the job that she's been assigned to do.
Is this the house that had a building permit pulled from
30 years ago? 30 years ago, and the building department found out about it in December of last year and shut the place down and went in. He brought all this information in, and they give him another one. Have you guys got any information on it? He's changed his building plans 5 times. He changed it last week. He had them come in and fill in the deep end of his indoor swimming pool that was full of water that he drained out to put in a shower on the deep, where the deep end was. Change of plans. I've done construction for 45 years. Not once, after you pulled a permit, after you had approved drawings, could you change it without going back in and getting a new permit with new drawings, build. And he's doing it, and nobody's doing a damn thing. Who's gonna do
Most
something?
of those would be associated with the county, as a
Correct.
building department.
Correct. Correct.
2 dwellings on a property, that's set in the zoning meeting.
And we-
It's not allowed.
And we can cite him for that, but.
Contact,
But the
contact the
enforcement,
building department, you know what they said, contact them? That you guys contact them, they will not give him a final permit. But you have to be talking to them, talking to these guys, everybody has to talk. Nobody's talking around here. I go to the health department, I go to the building department, I go to the county engineer, you know.
don't feel bad, the building department doesn't respond to my emails.
Oh, no, I talk to them in person.
Yeah.
I talk to these people in person. I don't just make phone calls. I walk in, talk to them in person. And I'm getting, I didn't know that. Well, I need these guys to talk to me. You guys need to talk to them. You need
Richard
to-
Nelson at the building department knows everything that's going on with that property. If they're not doing anything, it's because they choose not to. But we can escalate the issue as well.
Okay,
because
do
we
they
just have
know
other
that there's
issues.
two dwellings on the property?
100%.
He said no.
Right, he also told a resident that he hadn't heard from me when I sent the resident the email. So, I mean, again, I appreciate the situation that you're in, and I will absolutely, you know.
You appreciate it. I don't. This is a pain in the ass living beside this guy. And he just walks all over, and you guys are supposed to stand up and do something. You're not doing a damn thing. I'm getting pissed.
Okay. We'll issue a zoning violation.
Just one? How about he has a new garage right on the property line? Oh, you can file variance. He's built this damn thing without any permits. Make him tear it down. Make him do something that's legit. His septic 30 years ago is on my property.
How does he have a septic on your property? that the
Because it
county
was
won't-
never approved, because he never went through any.
Nobody at the township level has anything to do with the septics.
But you have to deal with the zone, with the property lines. His house is within 15 foot. I know, you were here 15 years, 30 years ago when he built it. I know that. But he's doing it again. He's been building a house for 30 years and
You're right,
nobody
and
knows.
nobody knew about it because it's way back in the woods.
Now it's
You're
being
100%
built. You're just gonna fine him?
That's all we have the statutory authority to do. The building department, the county's the one that's got to step in and stop an unpermitted building. And I will happily work with you on this moving forward, if you would like.
Ty's gonna be in charge of it.
And that's fine, Ty can absolutely work with you
Just
then
relinquish your zoning tonight. I sat
for
here-
the same frustration that you're having right now.
What, that nothing's getting done?
Correct. And these two are perfectly okay with that.
Sign your property, get a survey.
It's been surveyed. 2018, I paid for a survey Saturday when he came out. I put markers along the surveyed line. I can show you pictures. Every 6 foot, we took 2.5 hours to put 370 feet down, put driveway markers. As soon as I walked in the house, he's out there in my yard throwing them out.
Get a video?
I called the
Get a lawyer.
police. That's
right,
when
get
he
a video,
threatened them.
Get a lawyer, get a cop.
I
Get
did.
an injunction.
And he threatened them with the I got $2 billion. Don't push me.
Get it back.
Push him.
Mark will go with you.
I'll go with you. We'll put the damn post right back in.
Take out his name, he can't walk.
I feel sorry for you. I'm trying to give you an idea, maybe help you.
Like I said, I've gone to every step I can go. You know, it's to the point where I'm ready to move.
I've dealt with the county
I'm ready to
engineer
move.
too. Go see the toilets out front.
I'm ready to move.
All right, anybody else?
I'll go last if anybody else wants to go.
You're loud enough, you don't have to stand up if you can't.
Linda Collins, 129 Shady Slope. I have written several notes from this meeting, and I'm confused about the fiscal officer's position. So we appointed somebody today as an intern because they're only gonna do it for 3 weeks until we appoint somebody else?
Potentially.
A deputy, and they will serve hopefully until one is appointed, whether that be by this board of trustees or a judge
Or, okay, and then, does it go up for elections?
this fall.
In the fall?
Yes.
So we're pretty much in limbo until November?
Well, hopefully we have one appointed by then, and a
Oh,
deputy to serve in
okay.
the interim.
Okay, so the person we appointed is just only gonna be there for 3 weeks. We're gonna make them more permanent until somebody is permanently put into that position.
Correct.
Okay, and then the next question I have is, since she retired, or she resigned on the 30th, did things get paid, did people get their paychecks this last?
The last paycheck run was the Friday before.
So
the next
I-
one's this coming Friday.
Oh, so you have, every 2 weeks you guys get paid?
Well, the employees do. The
Okay.
elected officials are monthly.
That's what I mean,
Right.
so they needn't worry about payroll. Okay. And then I had another question that we brought up about Sherry. So it was brought up that she was to be terminated, but nobody seconded it. So does that mean she's still in the position?
Correct.
Trustee Paroli made a motion.
Okay, so, but it wasn't pushed through, and so,
Correct.
okay.
It wasn't
That-
even brought up for a vote. no.
Okay. Okay, and then I wanted to make a comment on drama. I just looked up the word drama, and it said something about acting. I guess I have one question before that. The letter that you read, Ty, was that notes that you took from a conversation
Several
with her?
conversations with her
Or was it
frustration.
her actual letter? Was it?
No,
they
it
were
wasn't
your
her
notes?
actual letter.
They were your
Why'd you tell us it
personal notes?
was, Ty?
Okay,
Lie.
so,
Stop talking, Michael Costello. Oh, middle finger, and get that on camera. Talk about drama.
okay, so I just want to say, and that's what I thought it was, that you had made notes talking to
Absolutely.
her, and Justin read her actual letter.
Yep.
So I don't see how we could call it drama when we're talking about facts. And that's what we're all here for, is not the, if you can, you need to be able to bring these things out of the dark and into the light. And I understand that we all have our own agendas, but it seems to be having a negative effect on this community. And I don't think anybody in this room is happy about it.
Nope.
I don't think anybody is. So those are my thoughts, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Linda. Anybody else?
I want to be there.
Joe Fullerton, 7450 Spencer Lake Road. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention is if anybody has ever taken an anti-harassment class, there is an array of different kinds of harassment that are out there. And the one thing that I wanted to say was, when you request a record request for a specific time of within 5 minutes, and you're not a resident and you don't have access to the cameras, where do they get that information from, other than a trustee? So when you talk about people doing the drama and what Justin is usually saying about, Ty and Chris, he gave that information to someone to purposely get that footage. How many in here have ever hugged anybody you've worked with? I can guarantee you that people have hugged people that you worked with. It's not an unacceptable thing.
unless that person does not want to be hugged, okay? Just to let you know, Laura's daughter was in the parade with us. We were over at her house with her husband and had a picnic on Saturday. If there was any threats, as you know, y'all call, and you're really good at the threats, by the way, that aren't true. So I'm just saying on the record, what a political stunt, you guys. Stop. We need to stop this, you guys. And I'm telling the truth, Renee.
Oh, the truth
Okay, anybody else?
Better than me.
Bring selfish shit.
Wait a minute.
Anybody else? All right, correspondence? Oh, Chris, oh.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have another
No,
one.
that's good, thanks. Correspondence?
Real quick, I do want to respond to one thing, just because it came up in several of the comments. The records room access and the policy. I want to be very clear, because I sat in this very room when that policy was originally read into the record. And while it was easy for me to automatically assume what the purpose of that was, I fundamentally 100% agree with the policy. The custodian of the records is the fiscal officer. And the fiscal officer should be the only one with access to that. And as has been brought up since the question was there, and we did listen to the video, I want to read, because I have the minutes from that meeting. Within that motion, it says, the fiscal officer shall be the only person with a key to the records room. Very clear, unequivocal, no authority to give one to anybody else. And I 100% agree with that policy. So the hope is that since that is the standing policy of the board, that when we do swear in the deputy fiscal officer and then whoever we appoint to the full-time, that she will be the only one, or he will be the only one that ever has access to that room. The video played this morning, or at the beginning of this meeting, had nothing to do with me having a desire to have access to that room. You know, I never even thought to see if the master key that I have for the building even worked on that. So quite frankly, maybe my key does work to the room and we never even changed it just to make me think I didn't have access to it, because again, the effort was clearly to make sure that I never entered that room, not to secure and protect the records. So hopefully we enforce this policy, despite the fact that we don't seem to enforce any other policy we have.
Do you have correspondence, Chris?
I don't.
I do not.
Okay. Unresolved business. Kristen, you want to go first?
Just reminders about the pig roast registrations for food is due tomorrow.
Okay. Justin, did you want to address the Opers?
I do. We kind of highlighted on it earlier, so I guess I'll just ask the question right now. We have an invoice from February 12th for Kristen's delinquent contributions in the amount of $4,626.75. I only received this again after getting confirmation from Opers that we had paid this 4 months prior to me even knowing that it had already been determined. Again, we had this discussion here, so I'll ask the two of you, prior to getting the email from Laura finally, had anybody seen this?
No.
I have not seen that.
And are we in agreement that the fiscal officer lacks the authority to pay any bills without an action of the board?
Payroll is different. The bill needs to be paid. We can question it later. Is what I'm.
Payroll.
It's payroll related.
And
I'm just giving you my opinion that I learned from the prosecutor, because I went to them, because I just couldn't.
I have this very question pending in front of the prosecutor's office, and Forrest himself said that he wasn't sure that they would be able to respond by today. So are you saying that he gave you an answer?
No, I don't have an opinion, no, from them yet, no.
So I guess the question is, one, what if anything are we gonna do about this? And then two, I did speak to Opers now that I've finally been put on the account. We still have 2 employees that we are going to have delinquent contributions in billing, and we need to contact Opers and fill out the A100 form to ask them to do an assessment, because we had 2 employees that were paid hourly wages that were withheld Social Security. So are we gonna do anything about this? I asked this of Laura more than a month ago and never got a response to anything.
And I don't know where that stands either. Has there been any contact to them? Was it changed? I don't know. You were aware of the issue, though, were you? I know
Well,
you got that
she
letter.
told all of
She
us
did
of the
tell us
issue, and we asked
individually.
about it at every meeting, and we were told that they were still working on it, yet instead of still working on it, she'd already paid it.
So she lied to you.
100%.
She has a bond.
This is a good resolution that
But
Alright.
she resigned over harassment.
One down.
Okay, I'm done with that person.
Okay,
I'm
new
curious,
business.
who would pay that money? Would
The
it come out
township
of
is
the
bound to
employees?
pay it, to be honest.
Who
I
would-
mean, we learned that last meeting. We have to pay, right?
The township
Well,
has to pay?
the legal opinion that came in was that it is an obligation that is owed by the township. During an audit process, they may review it for whether or not it was an appropriate fee and whether there was any negligence or dereliction of duty that resulted in unnecessary fees, and there could be a finding of recovery. That was what held up the original, when we got the invoice for Sherry's, which was almost $19,000. That was what my original reluctance was, is to get clarification on whether we could be held responsible for authorizing that payment. The opinion from the prosecutor's office was that because it was an obligation, we did have to pay it as a township, and whether or not the board simply approving paying it does not necessarily bind us to the root cause of what initiated. So I guess in a real circular way, there could ultimately be a finding of recovery against any of the elected officials for money lost inappropriately, but the simple payment of it isn't one of those. The difference being in the issue with Sherry Meinke's inappropriate or delinquent billing, that was brought to the board for approval for us to vote on, and we wound up assessing it and voting on paying it. The same situation for one of the other employees. The invoice came in, it was never presented to the board, and it was just paid. Potentially because of the dollar amount being much smaller, it could slip through, and I mean, it was on the payment listing, but it looked like a dollar amount that was in line with what we typically pay for OPERS. It didn't stand out, so it didn't raise any red flags until enough time passed that I knew it was out there, but we weren't getting any answers on it. So, after about 3 weeks of fighting back and forth, Laura finally authorized OPERS to add all three of us to the OPERS account so that OPERS can share that information with the Board of Trustees as well. And that's when we found the invoice.
All right, next business is, we need to certify the PERS rate, which did not change for next year. It's still 10% employee and 14% township. Just do a motion on that.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And a couple other, just real quick ones. You guys got the email from Renee at Barron. She's going to, she just did it on her own to extend our renewals for help, for the insurance, for the township and the fire, just to give fiscal time to get some of that done. So just wanted to clarify that. The township would be due August 21st, and then the fire September 9th. All right, and then the last item, I believe, will be, the county auditor had suggested to me that I approach the board with an extension on our budget because we don't have a fiscal officer as of currently till tomorrow, but when we hand our information in, it needs to be on a UAN-based sheet, and that's what they said. So they suggested that we push it out till like the 9th or something of September, and we get it done sooner than that, that's fine, but they were okay with the circumstances of extending it, but obviously it's got to be board approval, one for the township and one for the fire, so. Thoughts on that?
My only question is, I guess it comes down to our comfort level. We're talking about the tax budget. The tax budget is ultimately the responsibility of the Board of Trustees, even though it is significantly easier, with the assistance of the fiscal officer. If we are confident in the financials that we have in front of us, I don't see why we can't proceed with the tax budget. Now, that'll open up exactly what I've been saying for the last 3 months. I have zero confidence in the financials that we're looking at. Not that I necessarily think any money's missing, but I don't think it's accounted for properly in different accounts, which makes the tax budget difficult. So if you guys are in agreement that we can't rely on the financials as they're currently stated, then I'm perfectly fine with asking for an extension. If you guys disagree and think that we have financials that we're comfortable with, then I don't see the point in asking for an extension, and we should meet our obligation to have the tax budget done by the 15th.
Chris?
I'm of the opinion that we get a request an extension. We're going to be bringing on a new fiscal officer at some point, whether it's us appointing them or the judge appointing them. I think, it's better off if they have a chance to look at everything before we do this.
And what date would you suggest?
Did Kristen give you any?
She said September 9th wouldn't hurt, but if we would get it done before, then that's fine too. They understand.
Does that give them time for I'm guessing she's basing it off of when the Budget Commission meets?
Yeah, she was fine with the 9th.
So if she recommended the 9th, I say we go with the 9th.
And you made
I'll make a motion to request an extension for time to adopt the annual budget with the Budget Commission to September 9th for both the fire district and the township.
Second?
I'll second, but I guess I'd still like to get your guys' thoughts on whether or not you're confident in the financials and whether this is necessary or not. Well, I don't know, but I'm saying
Hey, and I'm okay with that
I
too.
mean, there's no harm here. We
Yeah,
don't
no
have a
harm.
fiscal officer in place. If you're just trying to put us on the record to say something, there's no harm.
Yeah,
there's no
I
harm in
am,
being-
because we're not being honest with the residents on why we're asking for an extension. Are we asking for an extension because we can't do our jobs? Because the fiscal officer didn't provide us with the appropriate information? Or are we using the fiscal officer's resignation as an excuse for not doing our job? Because again,
For
this
me-
is, the deadline was July 15th.
For me, it's an abundance of
If the June 30th financials are correct, then there's no reason that we can't do the budget. None. And if you guys have the utmost confidence in the financials as of June 20th, or June 30th, then no, there's no reason to ask for an extension.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be firm and say that the June 30th is accurate because that's the day she resigned.
Okay.
And I'd rather have a second pair of eyes.
So you
Then I will second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, so September 9th on both. And I think that's a wrap. Anything else? Did you guys want to set up a special meeting next week or the week after?
I think
We need to get the ad in
ad
the
out.
paper.
Yeah.
But do you want to kind of schedule that out? Let's look at the calendar.
First, I think we should make a motion to have Kristen put
Yeah.
an advertisement
Right.
on our
We talked about
website
that.
for fiscal officer.
Yep.
We should put an ad in the paper.
I would imagine the OTA is probably got a pretty base description of what the jobs and the dues are, so let's just use whatever the OTA description of the position is for the job posting, but yeah.
You want to run it through the 18th and have a special meeting on the 21st? But don't forget, we're going to need a special meeting to approve warrants as soon as we get
Right.
some bills.
So.
But we can call that once we get that far.
Well, yeah, we just need 24 hours notice on
Yeah.
something like that. Do we want to try, I mean, I know it's kind of cutting the deadline short, but do we want to do applications through the 25th and then plan on meeting on like the 28th? I mean, I guess I would err on the side of trying to get as many applicants as possible, make sure anybody that's interested potentially has as much time. I mean,
We can hold a meeting in the interim, and if we get 5 applicants,
Yeah.
and 3 of them come in the first
No,
week.
I'm good with that.
but, you know, do we want to maybe work on that time schedule? Plan on through the 25th and then, you know, the 28th?
Sure.
Every day? In the paper every day?
people look in the paper. I think, you know, getting it out online, on the website, you know, obviously people paying attention to the meeting. I mean, it's not like it's a job that, like, they have to live in the township for the permanent appointment, or the temporary appointment, but, you know, so it has to be a township resident, so.
I would run it like 3 times in the paper per
Yes.
week then. Okay. Yep. All right, that sounds good. And then we'll just call a special meeting, once we get some bills.
Yes.
stacked
Are
up
we,
and
are we
sent.
not appointing until the 28th then? We
For
have- we need like payroll and things
We
like
did that, that's Sherry Ward.
We have a deputy.
We have a deputy in place so that we can facilitate the payment of bills, yes. You're not gonna lose half the department because nobody gets paid on Friday.
Understood, thank you.
All right, we got you. But, yeah, the hope is to give everybody as much time as possible. There's no reason to rush, you know, the appointment.
All right, motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
8:47.